And welcome from Rockport, Massachusetts to the October 2025 edition of the Wicked Redeemed podcast, where we are seeking to explore the intersection of the ancient Christian faith and our present culture with some New England flavor. I am Matt Wigton with my co-host, Shayna Stoll.
Thanks, Matt. It's great to be back for our second episode. In today's show, we're going to hear an amazing story of redemption from our friend Craig Herrmann. But before that, we're going to do a real quick recap of our first show and some of the discussion on what it means to be a townie in New England and our own church's recent church bell controversy.
Yes, much to come in today's episode. As we start off, we should say thank you to those of you who have tuned in. We've had a terrific response with people listening all over the country and even in a few other countries. Can we say we've gone global?
We're global.
I mean, it's like 3 countries, like 3 people.
Look at
but
us.
I think we can say we're a global operation.
Skyrocketing.
Yeah.
We are definitely a global operation.
Yeah.
No, we are so appreciative of all of your support, your suggestions, and your encouragement. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and you can stream our podcast on any of your listening devices and on any of your platforms. But we love to hear from you, our listeners, so please reach out.
In episode 1, we explained the purpose of the show. We unpacked our name a little bit and laid out where we hope to go with this podcast in the future. If you've not listened to that episode, we encourage you to go back and do that right now because it will make a little bit more sense of where we're going in today's episode.
Yes. And one of the key aspects of this podcast is that we want to hear from people with different stories as we consider the relationship between the Christian faith and our present culture. We're also offering these stories from a really unique perspective where both of us are living in a sometimes quirky coastal community, right, in eastern Massachusetts and working in a historic church in that community.
Now, this quirkiness has been seen recently in some online discussion with our town regarding our church's bell. Now, this is in one of those community online forums that many communities in the country have, and they all are the same in the sense that these forums usually go into all sorts of murky and dark and questionable places.
They can. But one would think, right, like who could have an issue with a church bell? But some do. But so there is a little bit of a backstory, all right? So we just finished our church renovating our historic steeple in the last year. And before that, there had not been a bell ringing for 40 years, right?
Yeah, that's right. And prior to that, prior to the 70s, it was rung for probably about 125 years, calling people to worship and also alerting the town to major consequential events. So we started ringing it back when it was operational last year on Sunday mornings for about 10 minutes prior to the service. This is the customary way of doing it. In fact, still today in many villages in Europe, they ring their bells for much longer, for like half an hour on Sunday mornings. It's really a rich and wonderful tradition that represents the church inviting people into worship and fellowship. Now, if you're not quite into the church thing, I guess you could view this as a public service that we're sort of giving the town a wake-up call, because if you're still asleep on Sunday at 10 a.m., it's probably time to get up.
What is funny and why we bring it up is because of the fact that several people in our community are confused about why the church is even ringing a bell on Sunday morning. Like, who could imagine? But someone on social media called it a Gilmore Girls moment. And Matt, could you please give us a little bit more insight into that?
See, it's funny Shayna asked us because we put Shayna mentioning the Gilmore Girls in the show notes, just thinking that that's the natural thing. But Shayna's actually never watched the Gilmore Girls. Usually Shayna's the one who's up on popular culture, and I'm not. I've watched like a handful of TV shows over the last decade, and
the Gilmore Girls is one of them.
Happens to be one of them.
So he's our professional.
That's a long story. And the point is that in the Gilmore Girls, it's based on a fictional town in Connecticut called Stars Hollow, and it's a very similar town to Rockport.
We'll take your word for it, Matt.
It is, yeah.
Okay, well, this confusion demonstrates to some degree like what we are going through as a culture and trying to understand the role and the purpose of the history of the local parish. But all I can say is, you can ring my bell, ring my bell.
In other news.
Okay.
We need to follow up on a discussion we had in last month's show. In this episode, we gave a little background on our own stories. Short synopsis, I am a recovering, self-righteous Midwesterner, now 20 years in on my journey in New England. Shayna is a recovering, wild, hippie, pagan New England native. But here's the controversy. Last time I called Shayna a townie. Now, this term is a vaunted and privileged title in our little village. And I confess, I misused the term townie.
I've been called a lot of things, Matt. But this one is undeserved. No, you made a huge mistake. And I told you I'm right. And I'm glad that we have it on record.
We were informed by our good friend and a friend of the show and official townie advisor, Caitlin Favillaro, who, if you're watching on our YouTube video, we have a cardboard cutout of Katie's face, which is a whole other story, and Shayna's holding it up. But Katie was actually voted in our town's public school yearbook to be the most likely to be a townie.
This is true.
So she's legit in her credentials, and she told us the definition in New England of a townie is this: that you have both parents and grandparents who lived in the town and were active in the town. And I mean, that is a long time. That is older,
generations.
There are U.S. states that have not been around that long.
That's true. Yes. So I own being a New Englander and all the other colorful things you called me, but there is a shot that my grandkids could be townies, I think, and your
kids.
Well, yeah, maybe, but your great grandkids.
Maybe.
I thought about it. I think it's your great grandkids have a shot. But anyway, Katie, we love you, and thank you for setting Matt straight yet again. And congratulations on being a true townie. And now, Katie is the first official designated friend of our show. Congratulations, Katie. She'll be on a show in the future for sure.
Congratulations, Katie. Well, I think at this point, we need a little dose of some wicked redemption.
Amen.
And it's time to introduce our first ever guest on the show.
Oh my goodness. We are thrilled to have our friend Craig Herrmann with us today on the show.
Let's give him some applause too.
Craig!
Thank you.
Yes. So Craig is also a New Englander with lots of flavor. He's our brother in Christ, and I have had the pleasure of getting to know Craig more through our involvement in our local recovery community, AA most specifically. And I think we both share a great taste in music.
Yes.
Right? I've had the pleasure of recently attending a reggae concert with Craig and a group of friends, and let me tell you, he is the most fun person in the crowd and dancing with the biggest, friendliest smile you'd ever hope to see. We've also been part of multi-church community-wide worship nights, and I like to refer to him as Sir Mix-a-Lot because his tech and music skills are like top-notch. But what's even cooler about Craig is his absolute sold-out love for Jesus and his testimony of faith. Craig, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
So to help us start off and give us, a perspective from your perspective, how do you describe New England flavor?
New England flavor. Well, I sent you that text message going.
I know.
You got to give me some more background on what you're looking for. So I Googled it, and it came up with, New England flavors like fried clams.
There you go.
And all sorts of stuff. And I'm like going, yeah, but I don't really know what that has to do with the podcast, right? So then I was on your Instagram page, and your intro gave us some more depth for me understanding it. And I do say that I would definitely say like New England flavor is family and community.
Yeah.
And similar to what you were just talking about with townies, I definitely am a townie.
You
You're
count,
a townie?
but you're our neighboring town, right? You're a townie of Gloucester.
I'm a local.
Congratulations.
Right? And so my conversations with people are like, yeah, you're still not local. You're not a local.
How long can you trace your that you know of?
How many generations, Craig?
I can actually go back at least to my great-grandparents.
Wow. Awesome.
And on my mother's side.
Okay.
And then at least my grandfather came over as a child from pretty sure it was Germany, and they landed down in they were living down in the city, New York City.
Wow.
But then in the 40s, they moved up here. They had a summer home up here and lived in Winchester. But
Awesome.
yeah, my grandmother and a bunch of folks, we go back at least.
You got the flavor. He's got the New England flavor.
We got the flavor. But when I think about that, the flavor and the idea of community and friends, it's like, I'd go to music festivals with all my buddies. Like we'd plan a big trip, and they're like, wait a minute. It's like, you guys went to grade school together? And I'd say, yeah. And our parents went to grade school together.
Right.
And they're like, I've never heard of anything like that. And that's from people from Utah, California, New York, when we'd meet up at shows.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is the Gloucester crew, and they'd be like, these people are weird.
We're just spicy.
Yeah.
Full of flavor.
That's the flavor. That's the flavor right there.
Flavor.
Love that. Well, so what is we do live in a really beautiful, special place. Well, if you had to say, like, what's your favorite part about where we live here in Eastern Massachusetts?
It's got to be the fact that we're on the water. There's somebody like, I went to school up in New Hampshire, and every time I'd come home, I'd be driving up over the Apine Andrew Bridge, and I'd always roll down the windows.
Get the breeze.
Get the breeze, but get just the smell of the sea.
Yeah.
Even if it's low tide, it's like, yep, that's
extra
still
briny.
Gloucester,
Yep.
But this water, the quarries and everything, it's nowhere else.
And for those who may not be listening, or who might know the area, Gloucester, is connected with the sea for 400 years. That's defined that town in so many ways. It's dependent on the sea for its livelihood.
Absolutely.
Okay, Craig, next question. How long have you been in New England, and what brought you here? You've sort of answered this.
Yeah, born and raised.
Born and raised.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And we know a little bit. Shayna gave us the insight into your music background. That sounds like you're really fun to go to concerts with.
Yes.
I think everybody's listening is going to go with you now. You're going to have like a list of people want to go.
Fabulous.
But what's kind of your current vocation and maybe some other key hobbies? And I see you working out in the gym. I know that's one thing you do in the mornings. We see each other there. What's your vocation and other things you're doing?
Well, I work out at the gym so I can go dance for hours.
There we go.
But my vocation, I'm an architect by trade.
Yeah.
So I've got a local business. With the architect, there's a architect of record that works for my business. He's the vice president. And so I could do the local residential projects that I do mostly here on Cape Ann.
Awesome.
And then we have a lot of commercial industrial clients that, which is
That's awesome.
Yeah. So working here with a lot of local contractors, homeowners, and bringing them through the process of what it takes to design your home.
There you go.
And then walk them through the whole process of designing and building and making them happy.
Love it. All right. Give us a tiny window into your story of redemption. Lay it on us.
Little story of my redemption. Well, so with my whole live music background, love for the music, there was a lot of going to concerts, follow the Grateful Dead, and Fish, and there was a lot of partying with all of that scene. And so the partying was lots of fun until it wasn't enjoyable anymore, and a lot of drinking locally and doing a lot of drugs locally in a party aspect. And so when my brothers got about 6 years of sobriety on me, so when the pain got great enough, I turned to him.
Praise God.
Yeah. Excuse me. And he, so he brought me into the recovery community, and, that's when I started looking for a higher power, because they told me I needed one. And it was all about me at that time learning how to take suggestions. And so when I have a good friend of mine who passed away from a heroin overdose that is at Seaside Cemetery over in Lanesville. And on his anniversary of his death, I always go up there and spend some time with him. And I'm a week sober, and I'm up there with him going, I got to figure out this higher power thing. And I'm like, I don't even know what that, what that really is.
Right.
And so during that conversation, it just came to me of saying, if I believe that he's in a better place, he's with my grandparents, I must believe in heaven. And if I believe in heaven, I got to believe in God. And so that was the starting point for my recovery, because I truly feel like the obsession to drink was lifted.
Praise God.
And people in the recovery community is like, yeah, you're on a pink cloud. Just don't fall off the pink cloud. And I know now that I've never fallen off that pink cloud so far, And I just started taking all those suggestions. And in the big book, there's a appendix in the back that says, I'm paraphrasing about some have this eureka moment with their higher power, and others it's more of an educational variety. And it's like, don't knock what you found in, organized religion, right?
Right.
So that put me on a path to want to spend more time with God in my recovery. And so then I, was looking at a couple other churches and landed at Trinity, and that's where I got baptized as an adult, because I wanted to, be baptized in the church before I got married in the church, And I know now that baptism has a whole different meaning than the religion of marriage, but it was my path, know. And then through serving still in my recovery community, and then finding a home at the community church in East Gloucester, that's been my path, and love every moment of it.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, Craig, I mean, I know what you just told us really encompasses several decades of time, so it's sort of a short summary of a long story.
Yeah.
And I think we see in a lot of people's stories, there's always like these key moments. And you mentioned some already, sort of with the death of your friend, and that. Are there maybe some other key moments along that journey that you would say were really pivotal in your growth and in your development throughout that time?
Yeah, another part of my story is the first and last person I ever lied to when I was drinking was my father. And I remember each moments of those specifically. And I think it was like 14 or 15 years old, and the first time I got drunk was at a family friend's first communion party for their daughter, right? And a buddy and I were drinking champagne out of the cup, so it was like, all right,
Subtle,
this is going pretty good. And other friends were going to a concert, and I wanted them to give me a T-shirt. So my dad's sitting down at the end of a table. I asked him for some money, and he was like, "What are you drinking?" And I said it was ginger ale, right? So I lied to him, said it was ginger ale. And he asked his friend, who was sitting next to where I was standing, he was like, "Nancy, try his drink and tell me what it is." And she took a sip and said it was ginger ale.
She covered for you.
She covered for me, but she gave me the hairy eyeball. Just like the look on her face, right? And I knew, my dad knew right away that he was like, she's lying. But that was the first time drinking that I lied to him. And then the last bender that I was on was over Father's Day weekend. And he was down in Florida, living in Florida. And I literally started partying on a Friday, and it went straight through to Sunday night.
Wow.
And when I finally woke up on Monday afternoon, I completely forgot to call my dad on Father's Day. So I called him up, and I apologized for not calling him on Sunday. And I told him that I was working on a friend's boat and completely lost track of time. And he was like, "Oh, I thought it was raining up there all weekend long."
Oh no.
And I said, "Well, he's got a big barn." And we were in the barn, and that's why I didn't call you when, it was raining. He's like, "Oh, I thought you forgot about your old man on Father's Day." Right? And that just, it just tore me apart, So those are, so my dad plays a big role in there. And it was those moments where I was like, this has got to stop,
Yeah. Right.
So
when people find themselves in moments like that, like wrestling with some of the challenges like you've experienced in life, like what kind of encouragement can you give them?
It's like, I'd say my recovery, my faith and my relationship with my higher power plays a monstrous role in all that I do, right? When it comes to church and when it comes to the recovery program and helping out others. And I've never really sponsored a lot of people in the recovery program, but I think I can really point people to their higher power.
Definitely.
Right? And because that was my path, I say that, I know now that God got me to AA and AA got me to Christ.
That's so beautiful.
Right? And so with that, when I meet people, and I've had multiple friends of mine who've witnessed my own recovery and have called and asked me for help. Right? So I tell people like they'll want me to sponsor them, and I tell them the same thing that my brother told me. He's like, I'm not going to be your sponsor because your sponsor's going to tell you stuff you don't want to hear, and I don't want that to ruin our relationship. And I tell people, it's like, listen, I'm more than happy to help you, but you should find a sponsor that's going to be honest and truthful to you. And I'm like, but for me, the AA was it's the spirituality of the program.
Yeah.
That's key in my recovery. And I said, you'll find out that relationship is going to be key to your recovery. And if you can start off with whatever it is to be that higher power, it's going to take you so far, and your spirituality is going to change. Your values are going to change in the way you exist, the way you serve. It's going to change your life, and it's going to blow your mind,
It's incredible.
And so that's usually what I tell people. I'm like, I can help you, but you really need, God to help you more.
That's so great. And so you're saying too, it's like your example. People have just come to you as they've seen this change. That's been the most powerful way that you've been able to connect people, and then just be honest with them when they come to you.
Yeah.
Well, what if somebody's in a situation like this or some other place of despair, and maybe they think that they're beyond hope of redemption? What would you say to somebody who thinks that? Maybe they've tried recovery, they've tried finding God, and they just think, God's not there, or I can't do it. I'm beyond hope. What would you say to them?
I'd tell them that He's the one who gave me the strength, right? And I've seen Him give the strength to so many people now. And, I think it's important too, where everybody's path is different, right? And so if they don't believe in God, I try to tell them, but find that thing that's spiritual enough that says you're not God.
Right.
And what you're doing is destroying yourself and probably hurting others. But there is hope, right? And I know now that it's like, yes, Jesus died on the cross for all of our sins. And it's like when I found that out, it took me years to even understand that. And I remember having conversations with people about, transgender issues and stuff like that, and how that might, work within the church. And I'm like, I don't even know why Jesus died for my sins yet. Can
we slow it down a little bit?
And it's like I even have a hard time saying his name in a sentence without it, being blasphemy, know. And I'm like, that's where I need to stay in that lane for myself. I'm like, but I know that what he's done for me and so many others, I'm like, it's changed my life completely. And it can happen for you too, if you just let it happen.
But it sounds like saying, like, you have to come to that point where you understand your need for God.
Yeah.
And that's so critical.
Yeah.
Right. All right. I'm gonna skip some questions because I really like this one.
Okay, you can do that.
Okay. So from your perspective, what are some of the common misconceptions about the recovery community?
And I'll just add, maybe specifically within, but also with the church as well.
Right. Misconceptions within the church of the recovery community, because I feel like it's a little, even though we should be loving our neighbor and opening up and like helping those who are, suffering, there's a little bit of a stigma sometimes with like alcoholics or drug users, and it's unfortunate, but it's like one of those unspoken things in the church, I think.
Right. And I think that there's kind of like I never really saw those types of stigmas from it, right? And maybe that's because of the church that I'm at now.
Yeah, you're in an amazing church.
Right? And that, in Cape Ann, the recovery community is massive.
Yes.
And everybody, in a sense, knows how hard addiction is for so many people. And I think that also gets back to the New England flavor, right? Because so many people feel that those communities are so needed and so popular. Now, is it something different in other parts of the country? Maybe that stigma does come a little bit further.
You're right, yeah.
Right? But when I started going to the recovery community, it was so welcoming.
Yes.
And there's not a single person that said to me, some people are like, why are you going, to these meetings and stuff like that? And I'm like, because I'm a mess.
Right.
But nobody said, you don't need it.
Right.
Right. They're all like,
good for you.
We know you're a mess and you do need it. Right.
Yeah.
So I never really acknowledged or never had any negative interaction with people relative to it. And it's the same type of thing for me for community church, in the sense that understanding now as a non-denominational church, they're focused on the gospel, right? And we go, sermons go back into the Old Testament and to see where God was present and all of that too, and where it is today. And so it's that type of welcoming from that church that resonates with the recovery community that I've been in through.
Yes.
And so even when I was like meeting with one of the pastors, doing some one-on-ones as I was moving towards membership, he'd bring up things in the gospel, and I'm like, that's just like this in the recovery community big book.
Yep.
And he's like, yes.
Awesome.
And it would bring tears to our eyes because we're going that much deeper in just acceptance of who we are, right? And if Jesus was hanging out with tax collectors and prostitutes and all of these broken people, and saying these are the ones, they're the ones who need the help. The healthy don't need the doctors.
Yeah,
that's right. And I think something that I've loved with my experience with many friends and family in the recovery community is the honesty, right? Because the fact of the matter is, maybe we don't struggle with addiction, but if we're honest, all of us are messed up, right?
Yeah.
All of us
Right.
deep down are have all sorts of baggage and darkness, and we all need Jesus, no matter what our issues are. But I think that there's something beautiful about the way the recovery community embraces that honesty and putting it out there, right? And many of us, maybe who are self-righteous, that's hard to be honest, because we think we have it all together, but none of us really do. And that's the beauty of the gospel, is saying Christ is our hope, no matter what our issues are, where we've been.
Right. And that kind of just brings me to Rick Warren's Celebrate Recovery, and some of these other Christian-based teen challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But like Celebrate Recovery is just like, it's for any type of recovery needed, right? It's not just about
substance.
Yeah, substance.
So it's like emotional recovery.
Yeah. Well, and I think that gets to, I could hear some people, and I've heard some people say before, well, AA or different parts of the recovery community may not go far enough, right? Because you just get to the higher power, and that can be this ambiguous force. It's not Christ. So that's maybe the criticism sometimes that people in the church might have of some of these organizations, is saying we're not getting people close enough to the gospel. How would you like? And I know that there's even a debate within the recovery communities. Well, how much do we talk about God? And that's sort of a tension sometimes, right?
Well, so then my opposition to that is to say, how many Christians don't have a relationship with Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. They might be the go to church on Sunday type of person, but are they going home and kicking the cat? Right.
Do they know what their Bible says?
Yeah. Do they know what this? Do they have a relationship with Jesus?
Right.
And if you're sick and hurting and need help, you in the recovery program, it's like you need God.
Yeah.
You need to have that relationship with God. You need to lean on Him, and that's why for me it was like, I want to lean on Him, and I want to get closer, and I want to know more, and that path took me to community church.
Beautiful.
So you're not afraid to say it's just beyond some ambiguous spiritual force out there, but that there is a God that we can know, right?
Oh, yeah. I love that. Can you say it again? The God brought you to AA, and AA brought you to Christ. It's so beautiful. Yeah. I love that.
Well, and it's like, if, what brought me into the doors of that hall for the first time? Well, who kept me alive that I could walk in the doors?
Right.
I've done enough drugs and alcohol. That last bender, I should have died.
Yep.
But I woke up, and when I first woke up, I was like, I was surprised that I was alive. To be honest with you, it was that bad.
Where are we now? Oh my goodness, what a story.
Well, I think let's move. I love, Craig, that you've mentioned your church, and I love that here on the podcast, even though Shane and I work for one church, our goal is not just to advance our own church, but to say we love all the churches working together, right? And that there's a global and historic church that is on the move, that God is working through in Eastern Massachusetts and all over the world. And so it's so exciting to be part of little parts of that big thing, right?
Yep.
And to celebrate and love other churches in our community, and we love your church and the people in it. And with that said, why don't I guess before we talk more about your church, any other thoughts on how local churches and recovery communities can overlap and work together?
I think that I love the fact that a lot of our meetings in recovery are in churches.
I do too.
Right? The work that the Grace Center does pulls it all together. And, we got a couple of men's small groups at our church that guys from the recovery community are attending, right? So when we're putting on, so we do a spiritual 12-step retreat that I'm a part of a committee in a nonprofit that puts these men's retreats on, and we usually have we've been having a pastor come up to these retreats, and he'd do a service on Sunday, but he'd have one-on-ones, and he did a lot of prison ministry for a while.
Right.
He was a part of Salvation Army, and but he had passed away from cancer a couple of years ago. So the committee had asked, who can we find who's another pastor? So I reached out to one of the guys at our church.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, I'd love to be a part of this. So now he's meeting men in recovery and doing these one-on-ones and doing a service, because there's a lot of guys that are in recovery that are, grew up in Christian households, and got lost.
Right.
But now in their recovery, they're strong too, and they're contributing to their churches that they go to. And then when this pastor came up on the first retreat, there was this old timer that I knew would kind of like, put him under the lens.
Wait, hang on. Can you just give a quick? What's an old timer? You gotta.
An old timer is somebody who's got at least 25 years or 30 years of recovery.
Yeah. So when they speak, everybody listens.
Yeah.
Like if an old timer, you listen.
It's like the elder of the community.
100%.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
That's what it is.
And this one particular guy, he's got like 45 years now.
That's awesome.
And we've been doing these retreats with him. He actually started the retreat, and but I knew that when Pastor Matt was going to come up,
Not you, other Matt.
yeah,
There's a lot of us.
yeah, I was like, you got to meet Bobby. And so Bobby signed up. He was the last one. Like we had a time slot list, and you could meet Pastor Matt, and somebody was in the last spot, but he put his name after that.
Of course he did.
Right.
Yep.
And it was like, hey, Bob, that's getting in close to dinner. He's like, it's okay.
It's me.
And
He could do that as the old timer. He
Yeah,
can play that
right.
card. Yeah.
That's
Yep.
right.
He's
And
seniority.
But he liked what Matt shared with him one-on-one, and then his sermon on Sunday morning, blew the doors off of everybody, and he was like, whoa, this kid's good, And I think I've kind of like gone off. But I think that the churches, being involved.
Well, you're saying that example of that retreat
Oh, that's a
is
great
a specific,
example.
and the involvement of the pastor.
Right.
Great examples.
Right.
Yeah.
And so getting to know him and getting to know other guys on the retreat, right? Other local guys in recovery are like going, he wants them to call them. It's like, yeah, if you're like, give me a call. Let's do coffee. Let's do
Awesome.
something.
Yeah.
And then there was we get a small group that meets at 7:00 in the morning. And the one that I was a part of and started during COVID, we had to put it on the back burner because of some of the guys, proximity of time and things going on and shifting. So I started to go to this particular morning meeting, and then other guys were like, I want to go to that.
Cool.
So guys from recovery aren't even going to church, but they're coming to the small group and getting into the meat and potatoes.
Right.
That's amazing.
And they're just like, that is more what they need to
Yep.
be a part of, because it's an interactive conversation.
Yeah.
And they're just like, I still don't get it. And it's like,
But they keep showing
but
up.
that's
Part of the process,
Yeah.
the journey. Yeah.
And that's like
Yes.
what it is at the meetings, the AA meetings. It's like, I just don't get it. It's like, but just keep coming.
That's right.
Keep coming.
So it's the same message, and that's how they intertwine.
And it strikes me there's so many similarities between like the purpose of the recovery community and the church. I mean, again, not the same the crossover. But in our culture, we're taught to just do everything by ourselves and sort of this radical individualism. So it takes a lot of humility and sacrifice of your time to say, I need help, and other people can actually do that, right? And that's part of why, as Christians, we need the church to help us. You can't just be a Christian sitting at home looking at Instagram, right?
Right.
You need the community to help you grow
Yep.
in obedience and discipleship to Jesus.
And to question you. Like the recovery community isn't just like, good job, you've done it. Like he says, like your sponsor's going to kick your butt. They're going to tell you things you don't want to hear.
I like that.
Jesus does, right? Like,
Well, we should be hearing things we don't want to hear at church.
Right.
We need that guidance and kind of the
yeah.
Another quick story. There's a level of fear when you first walk into your meeting.
Yep.
At AA, when you're first coming around.
And fear going into churches too.
Yes. And that's exactly what happened to me.
Oh yeah, it's
It was
so
such a fear.
intimidating.
Right. But it's like I knew I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of, it's like, okay, I walked into an AA meeting for the first time with my brother, and it was scary. And now I'm walking into this church with my children, but people were welcoming. And I was like, where's the Bible app doing?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, you can do this. And I opened up like the King James Version. I'm like, because it's part of a reggae song.
I know.
King James Version, right? Still called King James Version.
I learned a lot about the reggae songs here at the church, Shana, so I know all of
This
that.
is so biblical.
Well, and that's really where a lot of my spirituality came
It
from.
starts in the OT.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And so, so when COVID happened, right? To me, it felt like everybody was in early sobriety because it was the fear of the unknown. Nobody
Yes.
knew what was going on.
And no one was acting rationally.
Yeah.
Or it led us to need sobriety as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so
COVID.
what I knew to do was I called up Pastor Jake at our church, and I'm like, I got to get face to face with some guys.
Yeah.
I'm like, because it feels like early sobriety, the fear of the unknown. And he's like, oh, sounds like you want to start a small group.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't know what that is, but if that's gonna, give me
Yeah.
face to face with some guys and tell them how I'm feeling, because that's what I learned
Yeah.
in the recovery community, then I'll do it.
Yeah.
And we sat in the parking lot outside of the church,
Right.
for a good
Freezing.
couple of months. Yeah,
Right.
but we did it, and everybody was feeling the same way. And he literally was like, call this guy, these 6 guys, and, see what they want to do. And they all said, yeah, let's
I
do
love it.
That's awesome. Well, let me, Shana, why don't you do the last question? But I'll ask question 16, and then you can ask the final question.
Okay.
But
Deal.
You kind of already touched on this, but we hear so much criticism of the church generally, and there's a lot of problems in the church. There's a lot of stuff, but the church, in general, is still a beautiful thing. It's the bride of Christ, and it's all about Jesus. And so, tell us something that you love about your local church. We like to hear good things about the church.
What I love about our local church, that community church, is how, it's not really a business model, right? But I see it similar to a business model where Pastor Tim doesn't want to do everything, right? He wants the elders, the leadership team, he built this community in this church to be able to function without him. And so he's been, he went on a sabbatical for some time to work on his doctorate and dissertation and everything. And we still function, right? And so to me, there's a lot of power in that because it's like not one person makes all the decisions on how to do. Now, if you want to talk about AV technology, he he beats me hands down.
He is amazing.
He's absolutely incredible.
Computer design.
Come help us. Why are you not helping
He's a
us?
mastermind. Oh, he's helped us. Yeah.
We printed out his dissertation because you had a technical difficulty that day. Fun fact, our printer did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he once like offered me some advice on our website. He wrote me like a 3-page email
Don't look at
like
that
on computer coding. It was incredible. He's an incredible pastor.
Yeah. But it's, and the way that everybody comes together, supports each other, the amount of different ministries that they offer, global outreach, right? We've got people around the world who are serving and how we support them, the number of small groups, right? And the idea that, they say, here, if you want to get involved, there are so many opportunities for you to serve,
If I didn't go to our
that
church, I would go to your church.
It is a great church.
Yeah.
All right, Craig, this is it. We've reached the end. You're fabulous. We think you're great. And this is the last final question that we will ask every guest that we have ever had.
Because you're the first.
Because you're the first. But we answered it.
Hopefully not the last.
We answered it ourselves. But, okay, who are the 4 to 5 people who have most impacted your life's journey?
All right.
Doesn't have to be 5. Doesn't even have to be 4, but just...
Ish.
All right. First on the list, Jesus Christ.
Amen, brother.
He definitely, even before I knew him, right? He's there. My brother. My friend Jeff. He and I've been side by side in our recovery for the last 24 years.
It's amazing.
And the friendships that we have now goes beyond any bond. My father, as I told you, on that journey. I look at my buddy Aaron, who passed away.
Yeah.
His parents are still a part of our lives, even though they've lost their son. But he grew up down the street from me, and we were close friends. And even through my recovery journey, his parents were always there for me. Their close friends are in recovery, so they knew everything that was going on, and they were thrilled that I was taking that step.
Right.
And they're our daughter Ruby's godparents.
Oh, that's so
Aaron and
beautiful.
his family too
Incredible.
play that significant role.
I mean, they must be so proud to see like the resurrection, right? Like the death of one son and then this new life in the friend. That's beautiful.
This was his stone.
Wow.
Right. And so his mother gave this to me on my first year anniversary.
Wow.
And I haven't taken it off yet.
Wow.
And then he got this from another dear friend of ours. And so when you talk about New England flavor,
Right.
that's how it goes
Yeah.
back and passes around to everybody.
Decades of connection.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
exactly.
so beautiful,
Okay.
Craig. You're up.
No,
Yeah.
you're up.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned for our next.
you're right there. That's right.
I already asked him. I said, "Oh, well, thank you, Craig. Thank you. I'll just thank you so many times. Thank you, Craig. No, that it's a profound story of God's redemptive work in your life, and your testimony is both powerful and faith-bringing to a dark world. The way you help point others to Jesus through your life experience is a beautiful picture of biblical love. And now, you get to stay tuned for our next episode.
That's right,
November.
That's right, Craig. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you being here in a busy week and sharing from us a little bit of your experience and your journey with us today. And I think it will be very encouraging to many that are listening, and hopefully helpful to them as well. So you've truly been a terrific first guest on Wicked Redeemed podcast.
Yes. Oh, it's been great. So, Matt, remind everybody to follow us.
Yes, follow us on social media. Give us a good rating and pass on the podcast to others. Also, if you would like, we've got some Wicked Redeemed merchandise. I've got my polo on today.
Now I have my hoodie on today.
We got these little what are these called again?
Decals.
Decal. We'll give Craig one.
Craig
he
gets
a decal.
multiple decals.
Yes, you can put it wherever you want.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. And
right.
follow us on social media as well.
Yes, on behalf of Matt and our team here in Rockport, I would like to thank you for joining us on this edition of the Wicked Redeemed podcast, where we seek to explore the intersection of the ancient Christian faith in the present culture with a New England flavor. Keep your eyes and ears open for Wicked Redemption.